Ho 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 and Merry Christmas from Florian and Life Science Mentor. Tonight I'd like to talk to you about 10 ideas what to do when you're 17 and have, let's say, $20,000 in disposable income. What would you do? Which places would you explore? And the first idea is build your own company. That's something I think of myself back and maybe wished I would have done back then. The advantage is when you're 17, you can try out many different ideas and you can get ideas very easily. A while back I talked about how to talk about kids' businesses that kids could do that are not lemonade stands. And if you're 17, you're still almost a kid. In a way, you're still just very flexible and don't have any obligations. So what you could do is, one idea from back then was put a flyer out or to put some internet site out that you put some computer repairs. And now you could start a company with that. Start a computer repair company. Do software and or hardware, internet, network connections, social media setup, anything. And the point is that you're there for people 24/7 and that you do the repair service even when it's pressing in the Sunday morning, right? So that could be that could be a business model, could be software, and then you will be providing good customer service. So another idea could be search on Twitter and just type in I wish, I hate, if only, something like that. You get ideas, pain points of people that they just lament about, and you could solve the problem. Or you could call several businesses you're familiar with and then propose them to program an app that solves a problem they have, like it's a scheduling problem in their database or something like that. Program a cool app. Maybe you can even get them to pre-sell the concept to you. There's a podcast from Smart Passive Income with Pat Flynn where somebody talked about how he precisely did that. Pre-sold his idea, built his apps, and then he had already money for building those apps and could then sell them later on. Number 2, I call zoology scuba plora. I've always been fascinated with exotic animals, so you could just go to an exotic island, South America, Africa, Southeast Asia, Australia, and Australia is maybe not an exotic island, but you get the drift, right? You go where beautiful animals are, and you can take scuba diving lessons, and you could even go recreate the trip that Charles Darwin took, right? So go to the Galapagos Islands and then just take photos and compare your notes with the origin of species. And that way you could even, at the end of that trip, you could have a website about your experiences with an Instagram account, beautiful photos, and you can even work more closely on that. Maybe you pick up on some projects you like to work back on them. So that would be a worthwhile investment of your time when you're 17. Number 3 would be a road trip to the US, and then with train back. You rent a car or a camper, and you go from village to village, all the countryside, from the east coast to the west coast. You could stop there and work in these villages a little bit, like work on a local farm, like work in a bar or help out in a restaurant, whatever. Befriend the townspeople, just stay a little bit with them, be local, and then be back on your way. And then once you arrive in Seattle, for example, or Los Angeles, you take the bullet train back to New York or wherever you want to go, right? So you could also take a trip through Russia or Europe or Africa or South America, right? The same principle. Road trip one direction and then the train ride back, because I think that is really an amazing experience, being a whole stretch in a train. You could also stop and stay in some villages along the line a little bit longer, but that would be some idea. Number 4 is rent a cabin in the woods. So you could live in a remote cabin and live off your environment. That means like you hunt, or you chop down trees for heating. You have a little garden where you grow vegetables from. Maybe from time to time you do a trip to the local village and then get some meat, some stuff that lasts you a while, and just try to exist, try to be in that cabin for a year. You can take some friends with you so that you're not completely alone. And then just repair the cabin if need be. Just be out in nature. Experience it for a whole year. Be away from civilization, more or less. Number 5 is about dating. If you're a man, mostly applies to you if you're a man, you could rent a house next to a big city, and there's lots of clubs and bars, and then explore the nightlife, date, hook up, get that out of your system. And maybe 20K will not last you for all that long if you're close to a big city. You can combine it with doing an online business, as I suggested in point number 1. Number 6 would be flying lessons. I always dreamed of being a pilot, and later on that wasn't my thing anymore. But since a lot of kids' dream is to become a pilot, why not just spend a couple of months learning to fly, and then maybe you like it so much really that you can directly transition into a flight school, like an airline, right, and become a real commercial pilot. Or you like it so much that you want to go to the military afterwards and become a pilot there. So either way you win, and it's not the worst way of spending your money for flight school. Ayahuasca would be number 7. Conscious enhancing drugs. I think Mike Cernovich talked about that. How taking psychoactive drugs will actually widen your horizon, and actually in some cases these drugs take away the ego, right? And so you experience what it means to be away from ego, right? Just be and not have any conception of self in there, right? It's going to be very interesting. And Tom Arrow on his blog, he also talked about actually doing it. So I've included that link there, as well as to Mike's article if I still find it. That would be one thing. You go down to Peru or any other South American village and take part in a local ayahuasca ceremony. One idea. Number 8, live in extreme climate. You could invest the money into a survival course and then stay in like a very cold climate, the Antarctic, or stay in very hot climate in the jungle or in the desert. Do some survival training. Do that for a couple months. Away from civilization, just survive on your own. And that would be a good experience as well. Would be a unique way to spend your age of 17. You could even just like donate after you take the survival course, donate all the cash so that you really burn your boats and can't go back, for someone who's more daring, right? Number 9 is the Appalachian Trail. And that is basically the trail on the East Coast. And you just go there and you take a few months off. You use your money to pay for cost and lodging, for food and lodging, and then you just go there. You'll never ever have the time really. If you're doing a job later on, it will be rare that you have the time really to spend 3 or 4 months on a trail like that. But it's an experience you would be really happy about when your life goes into the waning hours, right? So you can really look back and say, I did that, and that memory is still with you forever. So do it as early as you can. And number 10 would be build something. So there are several rundown houses or houses in foreclosure that you can have for $10,000 or less. If you buy a rundown house, you can spend time and effort into renovating it, and then either stay living in it or, sell it for a profit. So I'm not a legal expert, and I'm certainly not a financial expert. I don't want to tell you, go buy a house in foreclosure, and then everything will be fine. So inform yourself very well before. I mean, chances are houses in foreclosure, they're not in the best areas, right? It's not like this area of town is an area that was up and coming and really booming. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been in foreclosure, most houses to begin with, right? But you might find like a little pearl that is run down. You can have it for cheap, or have a cheap down payment on it and then just renovate it and make it beautiful and make it yours. Or you take it with a houseboat or a yacht or whatever. The point is to spend a year building something. And those are my 10 ideas. Let me know if you like them. Let me know if you'd like to try some of those. Maybe you have tried 1 or 2 of those. and I'd be very curious about your experience. Let me know. I answer every comment on my blog or this YouTube video, and I wish you a Merry Christmas. Yeah, ho ho ho, and see you again tomorrow. Enjoy your holidays.